Laziness is a myth we invented to punish ourselves for being human. We have built a world that treats the human soul like a machine, an engine that is supposed to run at maximum RPMs indefinitely without ever needing to cool down or refuel. When the engine finally sputters, when the sparks die out and the gears grind to a halt, we don't look for the source of the heat. We simply point at the machine and call it lazy. We have become a society that mistakes a cry for help for a lack of character, forgetting that a fire cannot burn if there is no oxygen left in the room. If you've ever sat staring at a simple email for 40 minutes, unable to type a single coherent sentence, or if you've noticed that the hobbies that used to set your heart on fire now feel like just another chore on an endless list, you are touching the edge of a profound exhaustion. You probably think you've just lost your edge, that you're becoming unmotivated, or that you just need to push through one more week of grinding. You might even feel a deep sense of shame when you see others seemingly sprinting through their lives while you feel like you're wading through waist-deep molasses. By the end of this journey, you will understand that what you are feeling isn't a moral failing, but a biological boundary. In the next few minutes, we will deconstruct the subtle, quiet signs that distinguish true burnout from the ghost of laziness. You will see why your brain has gone offline as a desperate act of self-preservation, and you will understand how our modern culture of constant noise and performance has tricked you into feeling guilty for your own fatigue. Most importantly, you will learn that the path back to yourself doesn't start with more effort, but with the radical courage to finally stop. We live in a culture obsessed with the I, where every waking moment is seen as an opportunity for personal growth, a career milestone, or a curated social media post. This hyper-individualism places the entire weight of the world on your shoulders, telling you that if you aren't winning, you aren't trying. But this grind culture ignores the reality of the we, the fact that we are biological creatures designed for rhythms of rest and community. When we ignore these cycles, we don't just get tired, we get empty. Burnout is the state of having nothing left to give, while laziness is simply the choice not to give what you have. One is an empty tank, the other is a car parked in the garage. Imagine a teacher named Sarah who has spent 15 years pouring her heart into her students. She used to stay late, decorate her classroom with vibrant colors, and feel a genuine surge of joy when a child finally understood a difficult concept. But lately, she finds herself sitting in her car in the school parking lot, unable to open the door. She isn't lazy, she still cares deeply, but her nervous system has reached its limit. When she finally gets inside, she feels a strange sense of depersonalization, as if she's watching herself perform through a glass wall. This emotional numbness is a classic sign of burnout. It is the brain's way of pulling the emergency brake because the friction of caring has become too painful to bear. One of the most telling signs that you are burnt out, not lazy, is that your rest doesn't actually make you feel rested. A lazy person enjoys their downtime. They feel refreshed after a weekend of doing nothing. But when you are burnt out, you can spend 48 hours in bed and wake up on Monday morning feeling just as heavy as you did on Friday night. This is because burnout isn't just physical fatigue. It's a deep cellular exhaustion that comes from being in a state of chronic high alert. Your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode, even when you're trying to sleep. You are resting your body, but you aren't resting your mind. Maybe you've noticed that your temper has become a fraying wire. You find yourself snapping at your partner over a misplaced dish or feeling a wave of irrational fury when your phone pings with a notification. This irritability is a sign that your window of tolerance has shrunk to the size of a needle's eye. When we are burnt out, our ability to regulate our emotions is the first thing to go. We are like a city with a failing power grid. We have to shut down the unnecessary services like patience and empathy just to keep the lights on in the core. Laziness doesn't make you angry, it makes you comfortable. Burnout, however, makes you a stranger to your own kindness. We must also look at the noise of our modern world, the constant, relentless stream of information and sensationalism that demands our emotional energy. We are the first generation in history that is expected to care about every tragedy, every scandal, and every trend happening across the entire planet in real time. This creates a state of compassion fatigue. We have a limited amount of emotional currency to spend each day, and the digital village is bankrupting us before we even finish our first cup of coffee. You aren't lazy for wanting to disengage. You are simply trying to protect the small, flickering flame of your own attention. There is a specific kind of brain fog that comes with burnout that is often mistaken for a lack of intelligence or discipline. Think of a software engineer who has been working 80-hour weeks to meet a deadline. Suddenly, they find they can't remember basic syntax or follow a simple logical path. This isn't because they've become bad at their job. It's because the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for high-level thinking, literally shuts down under extreme stress. It's a survival mechanism. Your brain is trying to save energy for the big things, like keeping your heart beating, because it perceives your work stress as a life-threatening predator. The broken village we live in plays a massive role in this. In the past, when you were overwhelmed, there was a web of aunts, neighbors, and friends who could pick up the slack. Today, we are expected to be the perfect employee, the perfect parent, the perfect partner, and the perfect brand, all while living in isolated boxes. We have more connections than ever on our screens, but fewer hands to help us carry the groceries. When you feel like you can't keep up, you aren't failing. You are simply trying to do the work of an entire tribe by yourself. The weight you are carrying was never meant for a single pair of shoulders. As we look at the generational patterns, we see that many of us were raised by parents who had to grind just to survive. They taught us that our value is tied to our productivity. "I'll give you something to cry about," or "Don't just sit there, do something," became the internal soundtracks of our lives. We learned to ignore the signals of our bodies in favor of the expectations of the world. But existence moves in a pendulum form. We have swung so far into the doing that we have forgotten how to be. We are currently at the furthest edge of that swing, where burnout is the only logical conclusion of a society that refuses to slow down. Healing from burnout doesn't happen by getting a better planner or a new productivity app. It happens when you finally stop trying to fix yourself and start listening to yourself. It starts with the radical realization that no is a complete sentence. It requires the courage to be unproductive in a world that demands output. You have to learn to bond with your own needs again, to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend who was collapsing under a heavy load. You have to realize that you are the architect of your own peace, and the village you need starts with the boundaries you set. If you are feeling burnt out right now, please hear this. It is not your fault. The forces that created this exhaustion were set in motion long ago, and the modern world is designed to keep you running until you break. But you are not a machine. You are a living, breathing part of this universe, and you have an inherent right to rest. You don't have to earn your downtime by being productive first. Your value is not a transaction, it is a birthright. The pendulum will eventually swing back toward a life of balance and connection, but it starts with you deciding to step off the treadmill. So, as you close this video, I want you to do something radically lazy. I want you to do something that has absolutely no purpose, no ROI, and no growth potential. Stare at a tree, listen to the wind, sit in the silence of your own breath, notice the tension in your shoulders, and just let it be there without trying to fix it. You aren't a failure for being tired. You are a human being who has been very brave for a very long time. It's okay to put the weight down. It's okay to just be. We are all just walking each other home, and sometimes that means we need to stop and sit by the side of the road for a while. The world won't end if you take a break, but your world might finally begin. Be kind to yourself. Bond with the quiet parts of your soul that you've been ignoring. The fire will come back when there's room for the air to move again. Until then, just breathe. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share, and subscribe for more.